Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second edition of Wednesday Night Shooting for the year 2017. I am Tonya Rodgers, here as always with Andrew M. Swift. Um, this week for the site, Andrew had the pleasure of not only reviewing Smackdown Live, which he does an amazing job of. He also reviewed Raw. Instead of show by show, we're going to go topic by topic. So, the first, we're going to start with the blue brand to start off. And we're going to talk about the main event, which was a cage match, which saw the SmackDown Women's Champion, Alexa Bliss, defending her title against Becky Lynch. Well, I read your review of it. And honestly, I didn't think it was that bad. I don't know. She's definitely not up to the level of Becky, but I didn't think she did a bad job. This is what my issue with the match was, the ending, because it was stupid, and I thought it made Becky look. It was stupid. So the luchadora comes out and just stands in the doorway. And Becky, this is a woman who has cost her match before. And Becky just looks shocked and stunned. And then while this woman is still standing there, goes to win the match. That made no sense to me whatsoever. Why not attack? Alexa was down at the moment. Why not at least push her off the steps and buy you some time? No. Obviously, this woman is clearly an enemy, but no, I'm just going to stand here in this no DQ match and go for the win so she can come kick me in the face. Like, to me, it made Becky seem dumb. And that was my only problem with it. Of course, as soon as I saw the luchadora stand, don't nobody stand like Mickie James but Mickie James. So I was like, come on, guys. That's Mickie. And so I'm very excited for her to be there. But yeah, the match wasn't like terrible to me. I rather enjoyed the few spots that they did. Wish it could have been a little bit more vicious, or that they pulled out a weapon of some sort. But Alexa took some hard bumps. Becky took some hard bumps. I really respected the work that they did up until that finish. That they were just, following orders. The issues I had was with the way the ending was booked. That was the only thing. So, do you care more to elaborate about like how you felt? Maybe I have to rewatch the match because I didn't think Alexa did bad.
It was, well, I mean, they're coming up against a big problem in the sense that basically no cage matches in WWE are any good, because they're like 90% climbing, which is super annoying. And especially it's super annoying when like all their promo materials and like Alexa in tweets was like no escape. And it was just like, you can't say no escape if literally the entire match is both competitors trying to escape the other. Like, if you're going to have escape rules, don't describe it as no escape. Because like because WWE cage matches is like, I mean, they're ostensibly designed to keep people out, which they never do, obviously. But they're also ostensibly designed to keep the heel from running away, which was like the whole story built up was Alexa was like faking injury or like using interference to get out of matches or just dodging fights with Becky. So it's like, why then would you give the champion, the heel champion who keeps running away, the option to just keep running away? Like if you're gonna face, if you're Daniel Bryan and you're a face general manager, authority figure, and you want to, make it a fair fight for the face and to punish the heel for being, you know, underhanded and cheap. Why are you making an escape rules match? Like, I like, of course they're going to do that because that's how WWE works cage matches. But that's an initial gripe. That's not on either of the competitors. But that's just something that they're working against. After that, it comes to the point where the agenting doesn't make a lot of sense because Alexa tries to immediately escape, which is fine, which is what she should be doing. Becky stops her, and then Alexa basically like works it like a normal cage match. Like, even though she's been dodging Becky like nonstop for like weeks on end, and, you know, like I said, faking injury or you know, just getting out of dodge, she basically just works it even. She's not like fleeing Becky at every opportunity she gets. Rather, you know, she's doing the whole like, oh, Becky's down, I'm gonna climb out, but she's not like trying to go out of her way to find ways to avoid physical confrontation. You know, she's still like fighting Becky, so she's not pitching it as like she's afraid to like have a fight with Becky. You know, she's afraid to challenge Becky at all. So that doesn't mesh with the story being told on Alexa's side. And Becky, all she wants to do right now is beat the shit out of Alexa. That's the story they're telling with her. So why is Becky ever trying to escape the cage? Like that, like, yes, you're trying to win the championship, but you can win the championship inside the cage. And if you're Becky, if you're this fighting face who wants to beat the hell out of the heel, then that's what you should be doing. You shouldn't be like, oh, she's down on the mat, now I'm going to try to climb away, you know? So that the whole thing was agented and structured very strangely for the story that had been told going into the match. And then it comes up against the problem with Alexa is just a little bit slow to basically every spot, to basically every position. There was at one point where Becky basically damn near climbed out of the cage and was like on the other side. And it was like, and the commentator was even like, I don't even know who it was, but it was like, all she has to do is drop. And I'm like, yeah, so why doesn't she just fucking drop? She's on the other side of the cage. And that was when Alexa grabbed her by the hair and like pulled her back over. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. But like, Alexa was just about 3 to 4 seconds too slow. So like Becky was just kind of hanging there for a second, like, well, I got to wait for you to catch up to this, you know, to this position now. And there are several instances of that sort of thing happening. And, you know, it's not the end of the world, but it adds up, and it adds up to the point where the match, already destined to be very unfluid, I don't think that's a word, but whatever, very not fluid, just loses even more fluidity. So that's, the whole thing was just sort of, and they had a weird, like, they had like 15 minutes, but it never really felt like the match got going until that like exploder suplex, and that was only with like 4 or 5 minutes left in the match, and there were a couple of commercial breaks. So the whole, it just wasn't really put together well, and it wasn't really structured well, and the work itself wasn't spectacular. It was nice that they got like a "This is awesome" chant off the Avalanche Exploder suplex. That was nice, and that actually surprised me because I was like, "It is awesome." Like, all right, Memphis, like you do you, but like I'm not digging it that much. Like, holy shit. And then, like you said, the whole thing with Luchadora was preposterous. Because it's like, Becky or Alexa's down on the mat. Becky's just standing there. Just fucking punch her. Just punch her. Right. Shove her out of the way, and then you can walk out of the cage. You know? Like, that's not hard to do. Instead, she's just like, oh my God, it's you. You knew she was going to show up. You know, I mean, like, I know WWE babyfaces have to be really fucking stupid, but can we stop making them that fucking stupid? Like, you know, it's kind of silly. But it was, I did pop for the whole, like, because we had seen the rumor. I don't know if you saw the rumor earlier in the day that, like, okay, yeah. So, like, we saw that, and I didn't even need to see the rumor because the second I saw Mickey, I was like, that ain't Deanna. I was like we were talking about last week where it was like, if it was Ava, you'd be able to tell. I was like, yeah, that's Mickey. I can tell that's Mickey. That is not Deanna's body type. So that was a hoot that we got Mickey. and that was great. And I love her facial expression when the mask comes off or whatever, and Becky's shocked or whatever. So that's good. And but I don't know. The match was not very good, and like it definitely deserved to be the main event match because the title match is cage match for sure, absolutely, got no problem with that. But it didn't really deliver in the spot like it maybe could have done. So I was kind of bummed about that.
Here's the issue with cage matches in WWE, and I don't have a problem with the escape rule. Put a chain on the fucking door and padlock it.
Yeah.
There is danger in climbing that cage.
Yeah, right?
So I don't mind a couple of sequences where they're climbing the cage because you're actually putting yourself in danger. But just to walk out of the door, that bothers me. Cage matches didn't always used to be that formulaic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is something that when I came back in 2013, I started noticing, and I was like, why the fuck isn't the door padlocked? Like, there was a case when Seth Rollins defended against Randy Orton, when he was the WWE champion. I think Kane had like the key to the lock, so that made that cage match, even though it wasn't a good match because of who was in it, but that made the circumstances better for a good match. The Ambrose Asylum on paper sounds like a great idea. There's no escape. You can't win by escaping. Everything's like you have to beat your opponent, and there's weapons all lined up all around the top of the cage. But once again, look who's in the match. The execution wasn't the best. Now, if you give these ideas to people who like Charlotte and Sasha would rule Ambrose Asylum. Like, could you imagine those two with weapons in a cage and they can't escape? Like, somebody might die.
They'll beat the shit out of each other. Yeah.
I swear, somebody's gonna get blood.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The hard way. But let's go to the other women's angle on SmackDown because we're talking about women as a whole. And I guess we can cover NXT, but I don't follow NXT anymore.
Do we need to?
No, we don't really have to. Natalya did a promo around the merchandise stand and was talking about Nikki Bella. Now, some people thought, oh, she's taking shots at Reigns. Oh, she's taking shots at Cena. But I have seen, and it's not as publicized or talked about as the men, but I've seen rumblings and certain females on the roster that have complained that if you go to the merchandise stand, the only merchandise you see is Bella merchandise. So that's coming. If it's a rib on anybody, it's a rib on the Bellas. And I thought it was done perfectly. And Nikki, like, she's just, there's no one better at brawling than Nikki Bella.
Right?
Like, and I just hope, like, I don't get disappointed again because she had some good brawls with Carmella, and then the match kind of like wah. But this is Natalya, and people are, oh, she's boring, but she's very competent. And when it comes to like a hard-hitting type of match, she can do those. So I just hope those two, that was great. That whole segment, I loved everything about it, especially Nikki driving her into the table, and it was just like, it was on, and they were just going at it, and security's getting slapped and pushed around, and I'm like, these are women doing this. Like, every time women get booked the same way a man does, I have like the biggest smile on my face because, like, even when I came back in 2013, this was like not happening.
Yeah, definitely not.
They were feuding over like Total Bellas, and it was Total Bellas versus the non-Total Bellas, and I'm like, who gives a fuck? fight each other. But overall, like, I think, this week, that's the best wrestling segment WWE did this week. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the discussion that people would bring up and say, like, the opening segment from Raw versus that. But for me, that brawl last night meant a lot more because, I mean, like, I liked the opening segment of Raw, but it was kind of like, you've seen that sort of thing before, you know, especially in the run-up to a Rumble when, you know, they always have, like, big brawl segments like that. So that was, I mean, it was fun, but it wasn't anything revolutionary. On the other hand, like, when Nikki was in the ring cutting her promo, and it was very short. She was just like, get your ass out here or whatever. And I was like, all right, that was not a lot of talking. And then all of a sudden you hear Natty like, Nikki. And I'm like, where the fuck is she? And then they pointed, like, you could see her in the background up in the crowd. She's like, I'm up here. And I'm like, okay. And then Natty was like, she was weird talking, but it was like for like 20 seconds, if that, you know? So I was like, and then she went back up and I was like, uh-oh. I was like, we're in Memphis. Do I, you know, I started, and then I saw Nikki climb the barrier and I was like, oh, we're getting a brawl in the concourse. And I was like, my notes went all caps. Like, it's hilarious. Like, you could tell if someone ever actually looked at my notes that I wrote for reviewing shows, like, when I get excited, it just literally goes into all caps and, like, sentences are like 2 words long. It's just like nothing makes sense, but somehow it all comes together. But, like, and Natty was great, like, trying to tear apart the merch stand. And her bit, I don't know if you heard her say this, but she called Bret Hart her ex-uncle, which popped me. That popped. I didn't hear that until I watched it again, like, later on. I was like, oh, that's a nice touch. And, like, the line about, ooh, right next to Cena's merch, was a nice product placement. Like, that was good. And then, like, I was like, we're going to get this. This is actually going to happen. And I loved how it just happened and how it went down. Nikki was like, what are you doing? And just went right at her. And instead of, like, just throwing hands, fucking threw the table immediately. And I was just like, yes, it is lit. Because then all of a sudden, all the fans that were out there were like, holy shit. Like, they all started losing their mind. You know, they started, Nikki. We're doing that whole thing. And they were going at it. And I was just like, this is awesome. This is so cool. Like, when is the last time it's been a very long time since I've seen a concourse brawl. And probably never since I've seen one between, like, women just going at it like that. So that was super cool. And, like, that honestly felt more history making to me, than the main event cage match, which was also technically history making, but, like, didn't feel groundbreaking. But, like, that brawl, man, that was so fire. And I was like, the way the fans, like, were getting into it, like, they were like, oh shit, like, when Nikki slapped the security guard, they're like, oh, like, they were, like, marking out like it was a shoot fight. And I was like, oh, speaking of shoot fights, we're gonna go over that, or but that was great. Now that was, I almost led with that angle, actually, but I was like, I gotta lead with the, you know, surprise return in the main event cage match. But I was way more into that than I was the actual cage match. So that feud is bringing it. And I know we talked about this last week, where it was like some people are not, you know, all that excited about that feud because it's like, well, we just saw this, like, we just went over this, which is kind of true. I mean, like, Natalya and Carmella are definitely coming at it from different, you know, like, motivations, you know, different places. They're kind of using some of the same attacks, but what that does, which is similar to, like, what several heels did with Bayley down in NXT, they kind of use this, like, Alexa and Ava and Nia all kind of use, like, the same tact, like, in you know, slightly different variations of, you know, why they were champion material and Bayley wasn't. But what it does is it cements the babyface character it like really hits home like what the baby face is supposed to be representing here. And I think that's something like that is really lacking from a lot of programs in WWE. Like you get like one thing and then it just like kind of goes on from that, but they don't really like hit the character notes really hard to really, you know, get across what these people and what especially the baby face is supposed to be and supposed to represent. And I think they're doing that really well with Nikki's character right now. And I think it's working really well because right now, like her babyface character is awesome right now. So I think they're doing really well. I don't know. I just marked out for like 20 minutes there. It felt like I don't know.
That's okay. It's a good thing to mark over because it was excellent, very well performed. My favorite segment of the week. Let's head on over to Raw. And Sasha was working out in the ring before the show, and a wild Nia Jax appeared and fucked her shit up. So, it's something different, you know. They rarely do things like this, like, oh, before the show and this and that, but I don't know if it's just like to keep her off the show, because I think there is a legitimate concern, and there should be, that Sasha, I know what the rumor is. They think Bayley's more popular. No. This is my opinion. Think that they can market Bayley better than they can market Sasha. And that's why they decided, well, maybe let's give this to Bayley, because I don't know, because I'm under the impression that Charlotte is going to leave WrestleMania as the Raw Women's Champion. And I would be sitting here shocked if the day after WrestleMania, she's not. Seriously. Because I think all of this is to build up Charlotte. But I do appreciate the angle that they're coming from, where Nia Jax wants to make a name for herself. So who are you going to make it off of? Sasha. That makes sense. She's way bigger than her. And we have a kind of David versus Goliath type of situation. Sasha's never really worked her. It'll be something new. It'll be interesting to see the match itself, and because Nia is still really green, and I suspect that's why she doesn't have a lot of matches. Although that doesn't help her by not wrestling, but I suspect that they're trying to keep her as almost like a special attraction, almost like, you know, shit's going down when Nia Jax is in the ring. So I think Sasha's gonna bump like crazy for her. She's gonna make her look like $1 million. And I'll only be disappointed really if Nia goes over her, because then that validates everything that Nia said. She's not the boss. She's just a weak little girl, and she's a fake and a phony. And, you know, we have to have Sasha have to face this obstacle and beat her, because the last obstacle she faced, she beat her on Raw 3 times, but she could never get the monkey off of her back on pay-per-view. So Sasha needs to beat Nia Jax, and not in a rematch or not in a best of 3. The first time, Sasha needs to win. That's where I'm coming from. What do you think?
Yeah, you can run the match more than once. You just have Sasha win the first one, and then Nia get even more angry, and like, you know, the next night or next week or whatever, you know, murder her again, and then they do it. You know, they do the same sort of thing. But she needs to win a fucking feud. She hasn't won a single feud since she was called up, considering she's only been in one feud since she's called up. But yeah, Yeah, like I was saying with the Nikki stuff, it was weird. The night after Roadblock into the line, like Sasha comes out on crutches and was like, I don't feel like the boss anymore. Basically, everything about my character is a lie. She says that whole bit, you know, like when you say that sort of thing, that seems like that should be defining your character arc going forward. But like, she has never spoken on that sort of like line ever again since then. And like, even when Nia says it back to her, like Sasha like gets defensive. It's like, no, you literally said that too, though. Like, do we not remember when you yourself came out and said that? Like, I'm shit, I'm garbage, I'm trash. Like, you said that. That's why Nia started saying it, because you said it first. And then they've just like abandoned that whole plot line. So it's like, I don't know if I'm supposed to remember that Sasha like said that, or if they were just like, oh, we didn't like how that played out, we're just gonna change plans. Like, I can't tell with Raw, you know, I can't tell if I'm supposed to remember a story beat, or if they're just like, well, we didn't really like how that happened, so we're just gonna retcon it so that it never took place. And that's frustrating. Like, you know, Smackdown doesn't always hit the right notes in its stories, but it builds off of them. It doesn't just like it doesn't do something in a certain angle and then the next week completely contradict it and then never acknowledge that they like contradicted it. You know, they like, it builds logically, and like it's like you're building you know, it looks like you're Finn. I don't know why I keep using Finn Lego building analogies, but apparently this is the thing I do on this show now. It's like you're Finn, you're following the instructions, you're building a Lego set. You don't just like build one, you don't just like put the first page of instructions, you don't do that and then skip to like the 7th page and then go back to the 3rd page. Like, no, you build it one page at a time in an order so that it makes sense, you know? So I don't have to be sitting here guessing, like, I don't know what part of the story they're telling here. So that's, right. It's really frustrating. Like, it shouldn't be that hard to tell. It's not like they're telling like really like complicated stories here. They just somehow make them complicated because they do everything all jimbled and jambled and out of order. So I don't know. It's I don't know, whatever. Raw is,
yeah. So
even when it's entertaining, like I'm just like, what do I do with this? I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, we will definitely get into that later on when we talk about the men. But we have to talk about, because of course, you can't have a week go by in WWE without some women's angle being controversial.
Oh boy.
Or like half of everybody getting upset. So the Raw Women's Champion Charlotte Flair came out and she talked way too goddamn much about how Bayley always wanted to do this and she's been a fan all her life. And apparently Bayley's supposed to be ashamed of this. I mean, you know, I didn't really get Charlotte's argument. Like, okay, yeah, you were born into it and you were doing other things with gymnastics or whatever, while Bayley was, all she ever wanted to do was be a wrestler. Now, I understand that, and people were like, well, yeah, because that gets people on Bayley's side. Yes, but I really feel like Bayley should be the one telling me this, not her opponent. Like, her opponent's like, hey, guys, she has always loved wrestling in WWE. Isn't she just terrible? Isn't she garbage? Like, no, not really. That's actually cool, and I don't get your point. Like, I know heels are supposed to be like wrong, but Charlotte's part didn't work for me. And then, of course, you know, I am always the person, baby faces have to have, not a little bit, my baby faces have to have a whole lot of badass about them.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, there's not much that's badass about hugging and wacky, wavy, inflatable men and Bayley bears and all the little kid stuff that she's like. It took me a very long time watching NXT to get into Bayley. I always thought she was a good wrestler. The character just wasn't for me. But like this segment that I saw with the poems and stuff, I was like, I mean, I probably could have written some better poems. They were shit poems, but I liked they were.
I know, just the way you said that. That was shit poems. That was just fucking hilarious.
But Bayley's performance I liked, and there's a certain kind of like realness to her where she's not crisp and polished on the microphone, but it kind of works with her character. It seems like, you know, she can kind of get away with it. There's a certain, it's really earnest and honest.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I didn't understand why people were like, oh, this is the worst shit ever. It was kind of like, I was like, kill me now, because Charlotte was talking forever, and it was like the dumbest thing. Like, oh, you're showing that she's a fan. Oh, they're not going to be able to relate to Bayley at all. Like, kind of weird. I think I would have went about showing that footage to main roster fans a different way. But it was shown to them, and if it gets them behind Bayley, I don't like, everything doesn't have to like be awesome, and I think it's excellent for it to work and for me to be behind it. But like, yeah, I don't know why you're so upset. Like, calm down. It's okay. This is who Bayley is. She's a dork, but she's a badass dork. But she's a dork. Outside of the ring, she's not, you know, she's not going to be the cool face, you know. She's who she is, and she's proud of that. And it kind of shined through in that segment. So, yeah, that's where I am with it. I know how you feel about it. You can go ahead.
Yeah. What's weird about it is, like, if you know like one thing about Bayley, like from her main roster run, if you didn't watch NXT, it's like it would have come across by now. It's like, oh, Bayley's been a lifelong like WWE fan. She's always wanted to do it. Like they've emphasized that from like her very first week. So it was stuff that had already been rehashed. Like we didn't. Like I like the whole bit of like Charlotte's like she's average like you, which is playing off of like the Steph thing from 2 weeks ago. It's like, you're just Bayley, and then she's like, yeah, I'm just Bayley. That's good enough for me, which is good. But like we know, I don't know. Like they've been trying to beat this little beat like ever since her call up. Like Charlotte has kept trying to say you don't belong here. Like that's. To be fair, they have consistently made that point. What's weird is that it never seems to stick. I don't really know why that is. Like it's hard to make sense of why like Raw's story beats never really hit home. And it's not because like, oh God, the performance is so terrible or whatever. It's just something about the presentation or maybe commentary, like follow-up or afterward or something. It just doesn't, like the story beats on Raw don't stay for some reason. And I've been trying to figure this out, and I really can't do it. But like you said, I don't understand why, like when people were like, that was fucking stupid, like that was awful, like I was like, man, that seems really harsh. Like, it seemed to me, and, you know, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I literally wrote the book on Bayley, so I feel like I can make this argument. It seemed to me like that segment, like she was, like Pamela Martinez was really hitting her character really well in that segment. So like when people are like, oh, those poems were sucked or whatever, she's being too clever, I was like, I don't think she thinks she's clever at all. She's like a goofy dork, but at the same time she's like throwing it back on Charlotte, because she's like, this is stupid, Charlotte, why are you doing this? Like, this is, you're not
owning it.
Yeah, she was owning it. Like, that was the whole thing. She was owning it the whole time. Like, this is dumb. And then she's like, whoa, I've got some things I'll add. It wasn't like, this is dumb, I'm going to come up with something brilliant in response. It was just like, this is dumb, I'm going to keep being like, this is dumb, and come up with some cornball shit to throw back at you. Like, I don't think there was an intention at all on the part of the character. I don't think, and to me, it didn't come across at all. Like, she was like, I'm going to be, like, smart about this and, like, come up with some smart shit to throw back at you. It's like, no, Bayley doesn't do that. Bayley goes down to, like, the level that you're trying to put her at. That's her whole thing. If you're trying to put her down as, like, an average person, what she will do as a character is go down to that average person note and just say, this is okay. I'm just going to fire back with this, and it's totally cool because it's totally cool to be this level, you know? So I think it's a misrepresentation and a misunderstanding of what Bayley's character is when people like say, when people are like, that was bad poetry. It was like, that's the point. Like, she never once thought it was like, this is a genius line I'm coming up with. And I don't understand why people would have that impression. Like, that doesn't ever seem to be Bayley's character at all. And when it comes to like being a badass, like the thing is with Bayley, like she doesn't, like Charlotte just came out there and was trolling her and was like being dumb. Like, well, I don't understand why Bayley would come out there and be like, start yelling back at her. She's just like, no, this is stupid. Like, this is dumb. I don't know why she'd be like, fuck you, Charlotte, I'm going to beat your ass. Like, that doesn't seem like a logical response to that. You know, Bayley's anger comes out after like a period of time where like someone treats her poorly, not in like that sense, but in the sense of like betrayal or something like that. And then she gets angry. Like, you know, you can't just go to 11 on the angry level like right away just for like some weird trolling bit that Charlotte's doing. So that didn't make a whole lot of sense for me. Also, like you said, Charlotte's part was way too long, and including, I don't know whose idea it was to try to have her read one of the poems off the Titantron, but that was the dumbest idea in wrestling history. You can't read it. It's too small. Like, you can't read the handwriting from that far. So I don't know whether that was like scripted, she was supposed to try that, or if she tried that on her own and it was just like, I can't read this. It's impossible to. And then apparently the fans were like try to throw it back at her, and you know, Charlotte was smart and was like, oh, called somebody in the crowd Four Eyes or something, which popped me because that's the dumbest insult. That's the dumbest insult ever. You know, called someone Four Eyes as like you're this dominant heel is fucking hilarious. Yeah. But the whole
wears glasses like
right, yeah,
in like the second grade.
Right, yeah, exactly. I was like, that was a lame insult in fucking kindergarten, like, you know, like holy shit. But yeah, so I thought the segment worked well for pretty much everyone. I mean, not pretty much everyone. I think it worked very well for Bayley. I thought Charlotte the whole thing was strange from her side. I didn't get it really much whatsoever, but I don't know. I liked it, but apparently a lot of people absolutely hated it, which just seemed like a very odd response to have.
Yeah, I agree. And let's just keep the faith, people. Let's not just. It wasn't for you, but the kids in the crowd seem to appreciate it. And if it gets Bayley more over, brava. Mm-hmm. Okay, I want to talk for a little bit about, there is one other woman I want to shout out because she helped name this. The name of this episode is I Am Hot Chocolate, after Alicia Fox, who on Raw and on 205 Live was very great. People are like, oh, here we go with some people are crazy. And it's okay if one woman is crazy. And Alicia does that well. She's getting highlighted. And like, I've always been an Alicia Fox fan. So I just wanted to say shout out to Alicia. She's doing her damn thing. And I'm confused. Like, I know she's upset with Cedric, but why are you hanging out with Creepy McCreeperton at all? And then you ask them for help, but then you slap them, and they're gonna end up together. And like, I don't know. I will say, Noam Dar is slowly growing on me. As long as he does not say Alicia pause. I'll be cool. But like, oh, the way you said, oh, I just triggered myself.
Yeah, you don't handle that very like that. Every time you hear that, you get shivers down your spine. That's funny because like that's literally the only thing that's getting him over with me. Say every time he says it, I just start laughing. I'm just like, this is the dumbest thing ever, and I'm not entirely certain why it's getting over with me, but it just is. That whole angle is super weird, and honestly, like if we were really gonna look at it, it's a little bit weird that the McCreeperson stalker guy is like gonna end up with the girl. Like that's a bad message to send for like there was for some reason this popped in my head. There was some like I don't even remember who it was, but some person on the internet, this is like 10 years ago or 5 years ago or something, back in the day, went back and like reviewed the old the Star Wars prequels, and like one of the things they focused on for the second one, Attack of the Clones, was how fucking creepy like the romance angle was between Anakin and Padme, and it was basically just like Anakin was a creeper McCreeperson stalker dude, and then somehow, and like it started with her being like, don't talk to me like that way, you're being creepy, and then at the end they were fucking, so it was like, no, that's not how this works in real life. Like you don't go from being a creeper to being like, if I keep being creepy, I'm going to break her defenses down and she's going to want to fuck me. That's not how it works. So like when it's presented that way in pop culture, it's a little bit distasteful. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Well, let's stay on the cruiserweights for a minute and talk about Jack Gallagher. I love him. I'm so in love with him, and like he can do no wrong to me, and everything he does is great. He had a I Forfeit match with Arya Davari, and I enjoyed it. It started off a little bit slow, but like sometimes you don't rush these things. I thought it was very well done, and especially for a crowd that had just been through the Smackdown and they basically were sitting there for like 3+ hours already. I felt the crowd was very much into it. And Jackie Boy is going to be a star. Him and William the first, second, and third. Oh, yes. I love me some Jackie Boy. Like, put the belts on him. Save some of the belts for Pete Dunne. That's like the two guys I'm just in love with are these little guys from the other side of the world.
You want some crumpets right now, sounds like.
Crumpets. I want my gentleman cruiserweight and I want my bruiserweight. Mm-hmm. What did you think of the because 205 is pretty much the only show you did review this week. So what did you think of the I Forfeit match?
Here's the thing. I watched like the last 3 minutes of it. I have not watched basically anything on 205 Live other than the very end because I was putting on Talking Smack because I was writing my review and I haven't gone back and watched the rest of it yet because I saw the whole bit about Ali losing to Tony Nese and I was like, I don't want to fucking watch this show now. I got annoyed, so I didn't want to put it on. No, it's just dumb. Like you're pushing this guy as like this baby face and his character's kind of getting over and it was just like, nope. I don't.
I'm going to say this about Tony Nese. And I don't have any strong feelings about him, but this is how I feel. Tony Nese is the cruiserweight equivalent of Roman Reigns. So get used to it. He's going to be winning a lot.
But here's the thing. Roman's a good worker, though.
I'm saying how Vince sees the guy.
Yeah, I can see that. I tell you, you know what? Tony Nese, I don't like his face. I think he's got a real ugly face. I'm sorry, but like, Every time I see him, I'm just like, I don't like your face, man. Like, I'm just not digging it. And I can't tell if it's like the facial hair or just his face in general. It's not working for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
They should put him in a mask. Shit.
Who knows? So we can move on to the men on the main shows. And we'll start off with Raw, which okay. Raw started off with Roman Reigns. And see, this is the issues that I have with him and how they book him. He just got jumped pretty much and got his ass whooped and lost his title. And the next week he's coming out and congratulating the motherfuckers for doing it.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, I've been there. But no. The Shield never won a match that way. I've seen basically every fucking Shield match. They didn't, like, yeah, they were dirty bastards and jumped people and did all that type of stuff. But, like, the Shield never had a 2-on-1 match for a title.
Yeah.
That never happened. I never saw that. That never happened. So whoever wrote that, go to fucking hell and watch some Shield matches. Secondly, this, like, the first part of his promo was kind of baby faces, but then he starts leaning into everything what people say about him, how he's pretty much unbeatable, and he's gonna main event 3 WrestleManias in a row, which kind of to me says that if you're a SmackDown fan, be prepared to be upset at the Royal Rumble because a Raw superstar is winning the Royal Rumble, probably Braun Strowman. Probably, but it might be Brock or Goldberg, because Roman comes out and then here comes KO and Jericho, and then here comes Seth Rollins, and then and I'm like, oh, here it's the typical and do any fucking thing interesting. Like, they have interesting elements in a shitty segment, because it was a shitty. Well, let's everybody come out and do and talk. I was just like, what the fuck is the point? Like, Seth Rollins coming out and talking about winning the Royal Rumble. How the fuck does that get you? How are you going to win the Royal Rumble and main event WrestleMania, and you want to fight Triple H? Like, first of all. Second of all, Jericho and KO, they're best friends, but they're still subtly teasing. Because when Jericho says, I'm going to win the Royal Rumble, and it doesn't matter who the Universal Champion is, Kevin Owens gave him a look like, bitch, yes, it does.
yeah.
Shit. I'm just letting you think that shit. It didn't get interesting until Brock Lesnar's music hit. And Brock wasn't even the interesting part. The interesting part was when Brock was stalking to the ring, the purest baby face in the damn WWE, other than Becky Lynch, just came out of nowhere and just straight jumped on Braun Strowman's back. Like, that's when shit got popping.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think people like, oh, it was good, but that's because Sami Zayn was finally, like, slowly eked into the main event where he fucking should be, because he's like the most interesting choice for a babyface on the show. He can talk, he's funny, he can wrestle his ass off. Like, but that was the difference with the main event this week. It was Sami Zayn was in there doing his thing. I like the segment backstage where they had Sami talking, trying to do the pep.
Yeah.
Because this is just what maybe I'm imagining it because I want this feud so bad. But Roman looks legitimately annoyed that he had to be sharing the same space with Sami. And when he walked off and said he's crazier than Ambrose, that was not a compliment. Like, he calls Dean crazy, and that's like their little compliment with each other, but because he likes when Dean gets crazy. When he was calling Sammy crazier, that was not a compliment. So, God, dear God, if they give me that feud, I will forgive them for everything. I'm so serious. I would. But, I mean, I did not like Roman Reigns. He's supposed to be Super Cena point too. But if you don't notice, John Cena in his little talking segment at the end when there was physical interaction with him and the Miz and AJ, he stood tall. He ate both of them. Roman Reigns, when he had his little physical confrontation, first he got threw the fuck back by a German suplex, and then when he got in the ring again, cleared the ring, then his dumbass gave his back to Brock Lesnar like he hadn't gotten his ass beat by Brock and he don't know who the fuck this man is. No, I'm just gonna give him my back so he can F5 me and end the segment. Yeah. They make him look so strong on this show. So fucking strong, it's ridiculous. I wish they would stop making Roman Reigns look strong. And actually just or like if that's how you book somebody strong, book him weak. Please. Shit. Like that annoyed the fuck out of me. It just ugh. And also, like he got that's not the end. He got powerbombed through the announce table to end the show with the crowd chanting, yes, yes, yes. Way to book him strong. Like that he's booked way stronger than Cena. Shit. Cena wishes he was booked this strong. God damn. Roman Reigns, he failed a drug test last year, people. Just don't. So if he doesn't leave Royal Rumble with the Universal title, and you're flabbergasted as to why, he failed a drug test last year, people. Just keep like I know everybody else seems to forget that. Bet you Vince ain't forgot it. Bet you Vince ain't forgot. Bet you he hasn't. So while there were interesting things that happened in the Raw main event, it was still shit to me. It was. People were like, well, this show was it was better. No, you were fooled because Sami Zayn and Braun Strowman were slowly pushed into the main event, which, that's the only really big time interesting story they've had going for months. And so it got more of a focus. So the main event picture seemed better. KO and Jericho are still shit. Roman Reigns' character is still shit. Seth Rollins' character is still shit. All the shit's still there. They just sprayed some Febreze this week. Wait till it settles, and just you'll smell the shit next week. Trust me.
That is such a perfect description. They just sprayed some Febreze on it
for a minute with Sami Zayn and Braun. That's what happened. But I did enjoy both of the brawls. Although, like, it's Brock. Are all these men, like, they were legit, weren't there 5 men kind of surrounding Brock? They're stupid. They're dumbasses. They're all trying to fight each other, and the fucking beast incarnate is standing there. Why don't you get rid of him first? That's why I was thinking, like, who the fuck writes this? Who's basically invincible. Like, you need to go find Kryptonite to beat this dude, or the Undertaker to kick him in the dick. But no, we're all just gonna fight each other and let him pick us off. No, jump him. To me, that would have been a better thing to see. It's just like if they're all in the ring and there's Goldberg and he's such a man, a myth. Jump his ass, everybody. Fuck, like you see that they make these two guys like this is not even like meta booking. In kayfabe, Brock Lesnar and Bill Goldberg are stronger, better, more important than the people who are there every week. Why the fuck would you not band together to get rid of these bastards? It makes absolutely no sense to me. None. They're treating them like they're there every week, and we fight Brock all the time. No, no, he's the ultimate threat. Like, that's how they book him, treat him as such. So it's like, once again, treating the regular guys like slap dicks, but and the fact that, like, I like the fact that Braun didn't get in the ring.
I was just gonna put, yep.
I like that. He's like, what's the fucking point? I don't have to fight you right now. I do what I want to do. I liked when he said that. I do what I wanted. When they were trying to get Braun to beat up Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, KO and Jericho were.
Mm-hmm.
But during the match, they barely tagged him in. See, these are the things I pay attention to. It's like, you wanted him to destroy these guys, but you two dipshits are wrestling most of the match. Huh? No, that doesn't make any sense to me. So they need to do it better. They make the way the matches are agented, the way things are scripted, and it's absolutely on purpose to make these guys look like dumbasses and slapdicks. And I'm sick of it.
Yeah, it's your point about the Fabrice thing. I want to come back to that because that's so good. Because like that entire segment, the two moments that people like the crowd like kind of lost its shit for and did yeses for were the standoffs between Brock and Sammy and Brock and Braun. The two guys who hadn't been in this main event scene for the last, 6 months or whatever, doing the same exact shit. So, like, the two new guys, people were interested in seeing those guys against Braun, So that was so I thought that was interesting. I loved Braun being like, why would I get in the ring with you? This is dumb. Like, the big meathead, like, monster guy is somehow also the smartest guy in the ring. He's just like, this is stupid. It's 2 weeks before the Rumble. What is the point of fighting you now? Like, there's no point to this. I'm just going to back down, So, like, it's weird that everyone else is like, I'm going to go at him. Like, no, why would you do that? And then, of course, like, it's weird that they have Brock stand tall at the end by F5ing Roman. Like, if this is, like he said, if this is the guy you want to...
Chris Jericho is not...
Chris fucking Jericho is right there. Exactly. Chris fucking Jericho is right there. The only thing he did in that segment was when Brock was walking to the ring, he put Brock on the list in the background. I don't know if you saw the gif of that. That was that was pretty good. But that's literally the only thing he did in that segment. He probably like fought Seth for like 10 seconds and then bailed out of the ring or something. I don't know. But yeah, that was so like when people were like, that was awesome segment, I was like, I mean, it was fine. It was fun. I enjoyed it, but like, did it change anything in like a fundamental way? Not really. Didn't really feel like that to me. It just was like a fun segment to watch. And I was like, okay, this was like a nice piece of fast food rather than like a shitty piece of fast food. It was like I was slightly drunk and I stopped by Wendy's on the way home, walking, not driving. Don't drink and drive, kids. Walking and got a Baconator, got some fries, some chicken, some spicy chicken nuggets, and I was like, this is pretty good, versus like if I went there sober and like got the same stuff and I was like, I ate it and I was like, this is all right. And then like 20 minutes later, I'd be like, that was dumb. I kind of ate myself right now. Like that was kind of the difference between, I don't know. Raw's a weird show. Like even when it's entertaining, it's just like all it keeps saying to me is like, this is a broken show. Like the show is broken. So it's just like, whoa.
It's on the writing though, because
oh yeah, for sure.
Like, why would you cheat the heel tag team?
Right.
What? Huh? You don't do the dusty finish with the heels. That's That's never done with the heels. What are you talking about?
Who
thought of that?
And it wasn't even like they're beloved heels or anything, you know? Like, it's not like they're turning these guys' face or anything. They're just a heel team that loses a bunch. And first of all, there was literally no reason why they had a tag title match. I don't know if you listened to Sean and Kane on CSL yesterday, but the way they went over it was like, oh shit, we need something at like the 9 o'clock, top of the 9 o'clock hour or whatever. Let's have a tag title match. Like that was kind of the thought process. Like that's literally the thought process that went into building that title match. Because I was like reviewing. So like when I heard the news, like going into the show or an hour before the show, like we had a tag title match. I was like, what? So I went back and looked at last week's review and I was like, there was no like tag non-title loss that Cesaro and Sheamus had. I was like, I don't understand where this title shot is coming from.
The club hasn't been like beating up whatever jobber tag teams,
right? Like yeah, they haven't
been on a hot win streak.
Yeah, they were just put there, and it was like, here they go. Yeah. Like like that was a glaring example. So when people were like, well, this is a pretty good tag match, I was like, it was a fine tag match. Like Cesaro and Sheamus are really good workers. Yeah. But like, what was the point of any of that? So like, that's what Raw is. It's just like literally filling time. They literally write a program to fill time. They don't write a program to tell stories, which is why I named the review "Filling Time." So the whole thing was just very fun. Like they can tell, they have story notes they hit. And they can hit, and they can play off, and they can build, but nothing happens like in a way that makes sense. So it's like it was weird for me to like to watch review and like review it because like I took myself out of like the Raw's this is bullshit like idea, and I literally just took things as they came, and I was just like, oh, this is kind of fun, and then I thought about it for a second, I was like, none of it makes any goddamn sense though. Like, right? Like, none of it makes any sense at all. So it's a big bummer. It's a big bummer.
Like from watching that show, especially just the opening segment, you watch nothing else. You know that they have no fucking idea what they're gonna do with any of those guys for WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
They might have like stuff that they want to do, but they're not sure exactly what it is, who's gonna face who, like the picture's not clear whatsoever. Meanwhile, on Smackdown, they're not only building towards the Rumble, they're building towards the damn Elite. And didn't I say last week?
Yep.
WWE title is going to be defended in it. But I was like, because what else? They're not going to have a WWE title match, and they don't have enough bodies.
Yeah.
Especially like important bodies. I'm just glad that like Miz is going to be in consideration for the elimination, because I would have been pissed. They had an elimination chamber match in the Miz after what he did last year. You telling me he don't deserve to be after AJ? He deserves to be in the elimination chamber match more than Dean Ambrose does. Way more. Seriously, honestly, he does. I'm just gonna say this, and people probably gonna be upset with me. But if Roman Reigns wrestled the way Dean Ambrose did, he would have never gotten pushed. That's just my opinion.
I don't think you're wrong.
He would have never. He could look the same way. All of that. If he wrestled the way that Dean Ambrose, he would have never. He would be jobbing to cruiserweights probably. He would never gotten pushed. It's just the truth. Dean needs to step it up. Like, oh, his mic skills, and like, yes, that's great and all. And that's another thing that SmackDown showed is like, you can talk up a match and build towards the match, but you're building towards the match.
So yeah, you got to deliver.
Yes, the match has to be good, as we see with Becky and Alexa. Yep. Like, the program is, everything about that program is good except for the matches. So, you know, is it really a good program? And then, you know, the Wyatts have a great program going.
Yep.
And the only reason I'm not afraid of like the eventual matches of that is because one, Bray Wyatt, when he's put in like big match situations, he usually delivers.
Yeah.
Usually, and dude doesn't even wrestle that much, but he usually delivers. He has a way of wrestling that big main event style. And Luke Harper's the shit. So either one of them against Randy Orton, I'm really not worried about. But the in-ring has to step up on SmackDown.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. It's absolutely true. The point you made about Ambrose is so true because, like, when you were saying that, I was like, yeah, it's so true because, first of all, Dean, it's not like Dean is a small guy. He's a pretty big dude, you know? But he comes across and wrestles as like a Sami Zayn sized dude. Like, and I'm not saying like Sami's weak or anything, but just like not like as an intimidating, powerful force like a guy like Roman comes across as, you know? And Dean's not that much smaller than Roman. So that's interesting. And it's funny because you're like, you know, the mic squeals are everything because when Dean and Shane met up backstage, like, it was kind of wacky. Like, Dean was kind of goofy, but it was actually popping me pretty big when he was like, when Shane was, you know, walking around backstage and Ambrose shows up and Shane's like, oh, you're coming up to me because you want to be put in the Elimination Chamber match. And Dean was just like, oh yeah, I should be in that. Like, that's all he said. Like, I started laughing when he said that because he's just like, oh yeah, for sure, I should be in that. Like, that's all he said about it. He's like, but I need a new title. And I was just like, what? But the way he said I should be in that was just, I don't know, like, that was a really good character note they hit. So I was like, you know, feeling good about Dean. And then that match with Randy happened. And boy, I tell you, maybe there's been a reason they haven't had a singles match in 2.5 years because holy shit, that match was going on. And I was just like watching it, and there's a big gap in my notes from when I just stopped typing because I was looking at it and I was like, I don't know what's going on right now. I'm just watching it and nothing's happening. Like, things are happening, but nothing is actually happening. So that's like the only description I had about the match was like, this match went too long. Dean won one of the roll-ups. Like, that was all I had about the actual work of the match. I swear to God, you read my review. I don't know anything else that happened in that match. But that angle, the Wyatt angle, like you said, is great. Like, when Harper got punched by Bray, I like gasped. The look on Harper's face, I was like devastated. And he was like, this is like, he did this. I was just like, God damn. And when he said he did this and Randy was grinning in the background, I immediately was like, Tonya was fucking right. I was immediately like, no shit, she fucking called this. I was like, God damn. And like, but what's interesting there is I still don't know whether, like, if he was grinning because like it was his master plan to like break up the Wyatt family, or if it was just like he was grinning because Bray was choosing him, sort of thing, you know? So like, there's still
his master plan for Bray.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like, I don't know what his master plan is. Like, it's not entirely certain. There's still like, there's still ways it could go, like different ways it could go, right. And like, so it still has me on the edge of my seat, kind of thing. You know, versus like when Randy came back after Seth put him out for like a long time and was just like, I'm going to beat the shit out of you. And then like pretended to be nice to Seth for like 3 weeks for some weird, dumb reason, even though everyone was like, he's clearly faking this. And then he beat the shit out of Seth. So it's just like, whatever, you know, that didn't care. That didn't matter at all. But like this could go a bunch of different directions. So like, I'm still super into this story. This story, like, it's funny because I listened to last week's show that we did, and then I, like, on the YouTube gimmick, it was, like, you know, related recommended videos or whatever, and I, like, randomly clicked on an old one we had from, like, September, and it was us talking about this story, and I was like, holy shit! they've been building this forever. I was like, they've said, like, this is a story that started, and it's just like, this is weird. I don't really care about it, but they just built it consistently. Every little piece, you know, like, I'm pretty certain you've watched The Wire, but like season 1, Lester Freeman, all the pieces matter. And I'm just like, yeah, all the fucking pieces matter. Like, you have to lay the building blocks. And somehow I keep going back to Legos. I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is now. But you got to put the you got to put the build. Apparently I miss Finn a lot. I saw him over the weekend in the UK tournament, and I was like, damn, I'm really digging Finn. But you got to build things, you know, piece by piece to get to a point where you, like, all of a sudden there's a moment that hits, and you're like, I am super fucking invested in this story, you know. So yeah. and that's like, even when SmackDown has a bad episode, that's what I kind of tried to get across in my review of SmackDown. It's like, even when they have a bad episode, like, they're still trying to build stuff. They're still like putting pieces together. You know, they might not be like working. It might not be like great, but like there's still, you could still see what they're trying to do. There's still a purpose. Exactly.
And that's the difference between the two shows. So, like, some people were like, well, actually, Raw was better, but, like, oh, I'm never going to say that until I get what I want from Roman.
Yeah. Yep.
Raw is always going to suck because he's walking around as a, what did I call him? A face in name only?
Yep.
He's a heel masquerading as a face, and I'm sick of it. Everybody's sick of it, but yeah, I still enjoyed SmackDown better this week. I did. So let's get into, because I was in the thread and I'm listening, seeing everybody's opinion, and Curtain Jerker asked a really good question. He was like, if you can make even trades, even if they're intergender, down, who would you pick? And, like, I kind of feel like everybody knows my answers. So I'm just going to let you answer. Who would you like if you could make trade from Raw to SmackDown? Who would you do?
All right. So I feel like the obvious, like, I know we're doing intergender here, but like the obvious female trade is the obvious female.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. But like, I feel like if it was an obvious female swap, it would be Sasha for Alexa, because I think that because Alexa can talk and doesn't really, but then again, like, the only angle on Raw for women got over was big matches, so I don't like Raw's broken. But I think Sasha would just murder it on SmackDown. I think it's funny because I see all these people in the SmackDown recap thread complaining about Becky's booking, and I'm just like, man, they're gonna be real pissed when Sasha gets drafted and wins the title next week. They're gonna be so fucking mad. I'm just like, oh, I'm sorry, guys. Like, poor Becky. They might actually have like the Sasha will probably be heel by then, or maybe be heel by then, but they'll probably build like an actual Becky redemption story. So, it's weird because, like, I keep thinking trade, but all I'm thinking is people on Raw that should go to SmackDown. I'm not thinking of a single person who should be on SmackDown who is on SmackDown who should go to Raw. So I'm just like, yeah, they should send Roman to SmackDown. They should send Sammy to SmackDown. They should send Rusev to SmackDown. They should send Sasha to SmackDown. And then I'm just like, who should they send to Raw? And I'm just like, I don't know. Shane McMahon? Can you send Shane McMahon to Raw? Like, keep all the McMahons on that show.
After I do my trades.
Right? Like, it's weird because there should be someone that I should be able to pick out and immediately be like, this person would be like a great fit on Raw. But like, then I come back to the point of like, nobody's a great fit on Raw because Raw is a program that doesn't.
Not even the people people that are on Raw.
Right, exactly. Like Raw isn't a program that like brings strengths out of people, so it's not like you can play with someone's comparative advantage. And then,
You know what?
Man, this is a difficult question, Curtain Jerker.
The people who are on Raw are just there to keep the lights on for the part-timers to show up.
Yeah.
That's really it. That's basically it.
It's not wrong. It's not wrong. Who would you trade from SmackDown to Raw? That's
okay.
like.
So I've thought about this. I would trade Sasha for Becky.
Okay.
Because Becky can do big matches. She just doesn't have like suitable dance partners. And because Sasha and Alexa hate each other.
They hate each other, yeah.
And I would be the type of person to like, yes, let's use that and let's run that feud into the ground. And just have them beat each other up every week. I would also trade. This might be controversial. I would trade Roman Reigns for Baron Corbin.
Woo!
That's who I would trade.
What's the reasoning behind that? Why does Corbin go to Raw?
Because I feel his look, his size, his gimmick, he would be, out of everybody to leave that show, I think he would basically stay untouched and he would keep his push on Raw. And I think he could do well there. I think he's pretty much like, people are like, oh, scripted promos, he's not really good at it, but I just feel like he would be good in the Raw main event scene as like the main event heel, because they don't have one. I'm sorry, KO. He need to turn him face to get cheered anyway. Baron Corbin, and pretty much put him against KO. I think that would be a good pairing. They both kind of like are the same, but KO is like the indie darling, right? And Corbin hates the indies. Well, he hates everybody. But I just feel like Baron would do good on Raw. And there's a lot of cruiserweights that he can mock and make fun of and beat up to get his heat. It's only Kalisto on SmackDown. Oh, yeah, so those would be my major trades. I would probably also, I would just send like, because they're not getting that much time on SmackDown, none of the tag teams are, and they do have New Day on Raw. I would send Breezango to Raw, because they both, you know, they can get over on the mic and they have an outlandish gimmick that I'm sure Vince would love to have the New Day make fun of them like them. I mean, they would be better fodder than Titus O'Neil. So
yeah, that's actually a good point. I actually totally agree with that. That. Oh my God! I tell you what, Michael Cole. I don't know whether he was tired or something from like all the non-sleep he had and then the long flights. But when Titus came out and Michael Cole just deadpan, he will not go away. I swear to God, that was Cole shooting. He was just like, this fucking shit again. Because that was exactly like, I literally thought the same thing. And then 2 seconds later, Cole said it, and I just died. I was just like, Michael Cole's my favorite person on the planet right now.
Michael Cole gave 0 fucks on commentary. And you could tell. Yeah. Because he was cracking jokes the
whole night.
He did not give fucks. And Corey Graves loved it. Corey Graves was having a ball. He was like, I want this Michael Cole every week. Go to London every weekend. God damn it. So let's talk about Talking Smack.
Oh, do we have to?
So we didn't talk. Yes, we do. We really do.
I know.
Because we didn't talk about it last week because I thought maybe it was just a blip. I don't know what the hell is going on, but Shane McMahon has no idea, like, what the fuck Talking Smack is supposed to be. Talking Smack is an extension of SmackDown, and it's supposed to be a vehicle for the superstars who come on there to get their characters over, and for Renee Young and whoever else is hosting with her to help get them over, get their characters over, and to get the storylines over. It is not an informative news magazine where you sit down and give like a shoot interview, and while a heel is trying to heal, like, oh yes, oh, you have a very bright future ahead. You are the face GM. You are not supposed to be in line with a man saying he is going to not only win the Royal Rumble, but win the title in the Elimination Chamber. I'm like, hold on, Bucky. How do you know you're in the Elimination Chamber match? Why didn't he say that? You like, he irritated me so much when Baron Corbin was out there. Baron Corbin is talking cash money shit for a rookie who ain't never did nothing but win a tournament. I mean, win a battle royal that Cesaro and the Big Show won. Damn near a year ago. What the fuck has the Andre the Giant battle royale with cheese ever got anybody? That's your biggest claim to fame. You need to find some other claim. He talked all that shit and lost to John Cena. No, you don't get to just brush it off with somebody. Oh, yeah. No, you lost. You wanted to be in the main event. Guess what? John Cena, for the past decade or so, has been the main event. So don't talk about winning the Royal Rumble. How you going to win the Royal Rumble when you can't even beat John Cena? There's and I know people like AJ Styles beat him. Yeah, but a lot of people beat him. Maybe not clean, but John Cena done got beaten by a lot of dudes. Baron Corbin couldn't do it. So if John Cena's the measuring stick, you don't add up. So tell me why you think be main eventing WrestleMania by yourself, and tell me why you think anybody would want to see that. No, nothing. Just, oh yeah, oh, you got a bright future ahead. Oh, I wanted to reach through my computer screen and just physically remove him from his chair and just let Renee do it by herself. She'd do a better job if she was just there by herself.
Yeah,
she would. He's holding. It's not like he was there, as you said. Dean Ambrose was also there. That would be a compliment if you could say, and Shane McMahon was there. No, he's actively ruining the show. And if he is on next week, I am not watching it.
Mm-hmm.
I am not watching it because he does not get it. And like, Stephanie gets so much shit. I bet you money if she was sitting in that damn seat, she would have gotten it. She would have gotten it. Like, people like, oh, all she does is emasculate. That's her character. That's what the fuck her character does.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm serious. People need to go research this. Stephanie is not the person who has ever been concerned with how she looks. How could she? She basically let Jericho call her every dirty name in the book to get over during the Attitude Era. You think this is the woman who's saying, oh no, I have to get the final say? No, it's her father and her husband. They don't want her to look bad. So when you're all hailing shit that they do, they're responsible for Stephanie never getting her comeuppance. So don't blame her. She's a fabulous character now, and she is like, she has more talent in her pinky than Shane has in his entire body. And I'm like, I blame whatever city they were in when he came back that gave him that absolutely amazing ovation when he returned last year that he absolutely does not deserve, because the only thing he has ever fucking did is jump off of high shit. And it does not take talent. You might have some, oh, he has guts, he has nerves, that's great. It doesn't take any talent to jump off of something. That's all he's ever fucking done. That's all he ever will do. But he gets all of this fucking credit and all of this fucking respect, and he doesn't deserve it. And if anybody thinks I'm lying, you must have not watched the past 2 weeks of Talking Smack. He is not helping the product. He is not helping anybody. He needs to get the fuck off my TV. That was my rant for the week.
Well, you saved me from doing it because I feel the exact same way. Like, I made a special mention in the review to bump. I put the cage match first, and then literally my second thing I did was Talking Smack. Shane is killing the territory. Like, get him the fuck off that show. Because it's just, my God, it is not entertaining at all. Like, holy shit. And it was weird because, like, Corbin was, like, making his points, and then he would be like, and Shane would just be like, blah, 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 blah. And then Corbin would be, like, try to take what Shane said and, like, counter back at it. But it was like he was countering himself. So he basically, Corbin literally worked himself to the point where he's like, I'm going to face myself in a main event of WrestleMania because no one else could. And he got to that point because Shane was just like, burr, 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 burr. And so Corbin is like, this is the only place I can go with it, you know? Like, so yeah, Shane has just been an absolute disaster on that show the last 2 weeks. And it really doesn't make sense last week because Brian was on the show. Like, maybe it was like a pre-tape bit or whatever. Like, that's possible. Like, because it was just a backstage thing with Becky and Alexa instead of the cage match. So that may have been pre-taped. But, man, he was on the show. If the guy's on the show and then can't do Talking Smack, like, man, they just...
I don't know what the hell.
I don't know what's going on with that. Like,
I'd rather have JBL.
Yeah, JBL was good. He was good with that, you know? Like, he was good. You could do Renee with it. You could just, like, you bring back Miz and do his thing. Or you could have some other guest hosts. Like, some other guest hosts that would allow another character on the show to, like, interact with a bunch of people on the roster that they don't usually interact with. And, like, you know, be able to have that dynamic going. Like, you could build some relationships there. But Shane just fucking, it's a bad Meet the Press. And fucking Meet the Press sucks.
Right.
So, you know, like, that's a shitty show, too, because they don't say anything of value on it. And, like, that's what Talking Smack has become with Shane as co-host. And it's just a big fucking bummer. Like,
Shane asked Bray Wyatt a question. And Bray Wyatt laughed. And that was not Bray laughing. That was Wyndham Rotunda laughing. Because he's like, they got this jackass on here asking me. Look, I just cut a promo. Shut the fuck up, Shane. that's what that lad was like. What the fuck are you doing here? Oh, jeez. If Stephanie were to get into the business, like if she had gotten into the business and worked her way through, she wouldn't be in the position she is now. But I do think she would have been a character that would have gotten over and would have worked the same angles. Shane McMahon is there because his father is Vince McMahon.
mm-hmm.
And I've always felt this way. And it's not just because he beat X-Pac in WrestleMania 15 for the European. But it's mainly because he beat X-Pac. I will never in my life forget that. This is one of my favorite wrestlers, and he's going up against Shane McMahon. And Shane had a jersey, Punk. And I'm gonna beat you 1, 2, 3, kid. And I was so upset. Like, why you have to do my boy like this? I was thinking in my head, I was like, there's no way in the world that Shane McMahon is gonna beat him at WrestleMania. And I get the point. It was to turn Triple H heel. But it was confusing as fuck because him and Chyna had got back together earlier. I have scars from this. And Shane McMahon is the cause of it. Like, Chyna had deflected to the corporation. For those people who were not watching back in 1999, Chyna had left DX to go to the corporation and was palling around with Kane. Kane and Triple H had a match, which really didn't have an end because Chyna came and interfered, and she got back with Triple H under the guise that DX was back together. So then X-Pac had his match against Shane McMahon, who has been fucking with him leading up to it. Him and the Mean Street Posse, and it just pissed me off. And then X-Pac was beating his ass, and then when Triple H and China came out, I was looking like, you ain't really needed, because he handling his business, but they came out and they pedigreed him, and Shane McMahon walking around with the goddamn European Championship, a title that X-Pac and D'Lo Brown made matter, goddammit. And after that, after Shane McMahon won the European title, that title was shit. I believe after he won the hardcore title, that was the end of all the fun hard. Like, if Shane gets around the title, it's shit. And now what's the rumor? And I'm going to have a fucking conniption. I'm going to try not to. But if Shane McMahon is in a match with AJ Styles at WrestleMania. See, that was, we were both in the rumor roundup thread.
Mm-hmm.
That was the rumor that made me say that WrestleMania just isn't for me anymore.
Yep.
Because they're like, well, AJ Styles needs a big match. Fuck that. It's AJ Styles. At this point, he could be in a match with Apollo Crews. And it's a big match because he's in it. Don't tell me AJ Styles needs a big match so you give him Shane. Shane McMahon in Vince's head needs a big match so you give him AJ Styles. That's how that shit works. It is, I'm getting even more upset thinking about it. Because people are like, well, at least AJ Styles is going to win. Oh, why do you think it took Undertaker a long ass time to answer Vince McMahon's phone call? Because Undertaker was supposedly supposed to do the job, and Undertaker said, "The fuck I am." I just want to show up. How about that? So just think about it. Anytime you hear "Here Comes the Money" and you pop in the next couple of weeks, see what happens. He be facing AJ Styles. And you're like, oh, well, AJ is going to win. Of course he's going to win. Yeah. Yeah, keep thinking that he was supposed to beat Jericho last year at WrestleMania too. I'm telling you, I'm going to be so irritated until that match is over. And then, like, if I see that match and Shane wins, I'm probably going to just be like, turning this off. Oh, that rumor is the reason why I have decided not to do a live after WrestleMania, right after WrestleMania. Just in case, if that match is booked, I'm definitely not doing it because I'm not going to want to talk about the show.
First of all, I'm blown away that you would even comprehend doing a live after a 12-hour show. So, like, what on earth are you thinking? Holy shit.
I'm not gonna watch the pre-show. Are you kidding me? I'm gonna start
That's true.
Here's
the thing, though.
Matches.
There might be some good matches on the pre-show.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch the matches. The pre-show is like 2 hours before the matches even start.
Yeah.
And some people are like, well, WrestleMania is gonna be 8 hours. It's not. It's gonna be like 4 hours if you include the matches. And if they said The Rock is showing up, well, that's when I'm going to go stretch my legs, go take a walk or whatever. I'm not going to watch that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to watch the matches. But, yeah, you're right. That is still a long time.
It's a long fucking show. Long show.
So what do we think WrestleMania plans are? Okay, this is what Okay, let's go from, like, titles.
Okay.
Tentative WrestleMania plans kind of depend on who's winning what at the Rumble.
Yeah.
So do you think AJ retains and goes on to the Elimination Chamber, or do you think he loses but he still gets into the Chamber match?
I mean, I'm at the point where what I want, like I said it last week, what I want on Mania is Styles Cena as the main event. That's the one. It's not going to happen, I know, but it would put everything else in such a better place if they just did that as the main event. It really, really would. But God, it's not going to happen. I'm going to be super annoyed already. I don't know, like, it's hard for me to get to the point where I can be like, AJ's going to lose at the Rumble. Because I feel like doing John Cena's 16th fucking championship at anything other than the main event of WrestleMania is like a slap on the face of John fucking Cena's career. Like, this is your top guy for fucking 12 years, and he's breaking and tying an all-time record. And he's doing it against the guy who has been the MVP of your fucking company for the last year and is literally the best wrestler on the planet. And that if that somehow is not the main event, like, that just demonstrates how fucked up WWE's priorities are. Like, how can John Cena, AJ Styles, for John Cena's 16th fucking title win to tie Ric Flair not be the Mania main event? It's not like
maybe it could be, but that would mean that this match at the Royal Rumble, it absolutely has to end
in shenanigans. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it absolutely has to.
Like, you could,
and AJ has to retain at Elimination Chamber too.
Yep. Pin somebody else. Like, here's the thing. Here's what they can do with that. Now that they brought the Miz, it's interesting that they brought the Miz out last night, because now Miz is like part of that main event angle. So he could fucking get involved at the Rumble and start and cause shit by being like, I should be in this match. Like, I should be in the championship match. Like, you know, and they did shit with Corbin too the week prior where he was like, where he got beat by Cena, but now he's just like, oh, I was only going half effort or whatever, you know, I should be in that match. So they're putting it to a point where a bunch of people not in the championship match at Royal Rumble have reason to fucking get involved in that match, and which would then set up an Elimination Chamber match, which is why it was annoying to me that Shane just came out and said, we're going to have an Elimination Chamber match. Because I'm like, you know what? You got 2 weeks between the Rumble and the Elimination Chamber. You can set up everything at the Royal Rumble so that 2 days later you can be like, there's so much shit going on. We need 6 guys in the Elimination Chamber to settle it because they all have a reason to be in there. But instead they were just like, we're going to have an Elimination Chamber title match. And I was just like, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. So that like annoyed the shit out of me. That put me in a foul mood right from the start of last night's show, to be honest. Because they're getting to a point where the stories make sense to set up the Elimination Chamber match. So why do you have to just go ahead and announce it? Like, that's something Raw would do, you know? Like, just let the story build so that then so that the fan is like, this is what needs to happen, because, like, I need to see all this shit play out. And then they're like, yeah, we're going to give you this Elimination Chamber match. And then you feel good about it, you know?
They probably did that to sell tickets.
They did. I know they did it to sell tickets. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. 100%.
Because, you know, 2 weeks is such a short notice to sell a pay-per-view.
But it's like 2 more weeks. That much help.
If there's shenanigans at the Royal Rumble, then I would be hopeful that they have decided that Styles and Cena should be at Mania.
Yeah.
And I still don't think it's gonna main event. Because of the verbiage that's being used on Raw.
Yeah.
So, and also the Elimination Chamber, I do kind of feel you, because to me it seems like, yeah, but you kind of gave away your plot a little bit with announcing this match so early. But I do get why they did it on the business end of it. Okay, if that's the path for the WWE title, what's going to be the Intercontinental? Do you think they'll do another Intercontinental? Because it's kind of been a running thing now for a couple of years.
Multi-man, yeah.
In a ladder match.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be mad about it. I really wouldn't. I wouldn't. I mean, it's kind of like tradition, you know. And then all the other SmackDown dudes are going to be in the Battle Royale with Cheese.
Mm-hmm.
So that covers those guys. So what do you think? What do you and once again, American Alpha SmackDown just keeps failing my boys. They don't even put them on Talking Smack. Nothing.
Yeah.
But like, who do you think? I feel like their story's kind of been hindered because Jay Uso keeps getting injured.
Hurt, yeah.
And that I feel like that was the plan, to have American Alpha ultimately like feud with them. But like, I don't know what's in the cards for them. And then you have to figure that this whole Wyatt family thing is going to go down to something happening at Mania. So that's pretty much the whole card. And I also like, what do you think for the SmackDown Women's title at WrestleMania?
I think it's going to be a fatal 4-way for the title.
Like I said, yeah.
Yep.
I do too.
I think that makes the most sense. Like, because I do think there are going to be, and if that is the case, then I think there will be 3 women's matches on the main card. But like, it depends on which brand gets like the woman title match. Will it be Raw or SmackDown? If it's Raw that gets it, then like someone of Nikki Bella, Becky Lynch, Mickie James, or Alexa Bliss is going to be left off the Mania main card. But which at this point, it doesn't make sense for any of those people to be left off the main card, I feel like. But if it's SmackDown, if it's those 4 women in a championship match for the SmackDown Women's title, then you can do Bayley, Charlotte, and Sasha, Steph. And you can get all those people on the card in that way. Because I don't think you want to do 2 women's title matches fatal 4-ways. I think that's just the dumbest idea that they could possibly. They might do that just because, like, well, we gotta get everyone on the card. We're gonna throw Nia Jackson in the match too, But I think that's a really.
Nia Jax doesn't deserve.
Why would she be in the WrestleMania match? It doesn't make sense at all. Like, let more than one story happen. Like, holy shit, I don't. So the whole thing is. It's just very confusing. Like, we keep we keep saying this. Like, we don't know what's going on because they don't know what's going on. Yeah.
So here's what I think for the Universal title.
Yeah.
Even though I'm pessimistic because Roman did fail a drug test. If Braun Strowman wins the Rumble, that means that Roman Reigns is Universal Champion. And they're going to meet at WrestleMania. There's a fast lane to consider. And for some reason, Vince has a fetish now with Goldberg and Roman sitting in the tree, either fighting or tagging together, which is another thing I never want to set my eyes on. But I think somewhere in the Rumble match itself sets up a final encounter between Goldberg and Lesnar. But Goldberg just signed on for 3 pay-per-views in a row after Mania.
Really?
Yes, he did. 3 Raw pay-per-views. So Goldberg might win the Rumble. And it's Reigns and Goldberg. And you see the Undertaker's out there and Brock's out there and Strowman's out there. So it's like a weird mix where like we can think of the stories, but we can't account for the part-timers yet. They've yet to tell those stories. Like the only match that's really set in stone is Triple H and Seth Rollins. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Everybody, Triple H is going to come back probably during the Rumble. I hope he comes out of the crowd again in his suit again during the Rumble match and eliminates Seth and beats his ass all the way up to the ramp and puts him through a table. CM Punk style. A lot of people probably, please remember this if this happens. That is the very last CM Punk appearance in the WWE. He was in a Royal Rumble match, and Kane came in and eliminated him and put him through a table. Please remember that if that happens to Seth Rollins.
Is that fucking true? I did not know that.
That is the absolute truth. That is the very last appearance of CM Punk in the WWE 2014 Royal Rumble.
I never watched that Rumble.
Oh my God, it's one of my favorites. That's when Roman was a beast and eliminated 12 people.
I might go watch that later. I'm gonna watch that later.
Oh, please do, because Roman was great. He was great. My favorite part was when Ambrose tried to eliminate him. And he turns around and he eliminates Seth, Cesaro, and Dean all at the same time. And then he yells at him like, "How the hell are you gonna do that to me?" And I was like, "Yeah, show him." That's when I started to become a fan of his individually, was the Rumble match. I was like, that boy might actually have some talent. Instead of just being big and pretty and finish matches. But yeah, it's a lot to break down, and hopefully things will get clearer. It's only like next week's the go home, and then we have the Rumble. So hopefully in 2 weeks things will start a little bit more concrete of like where, because like Undertaker needs a match and Shane needs a match, and they're not going to face each other again. So, you know, they're probably going to face full-timers. And then Brock's out there. If Brock doesn't face Goldberg, then who, you know, if Goldberg doesn't, well, let me say this about Goldberg, because I think Vince has become enamored with him. If Goldberg doesn't face Brock, he's in the Universal title match at WrestleMania. That's just my opinion.
There's a wild card in here that we're not accounting for, and it's Finn.
That's true. But see, that's because I'm kind of like, he hasn't been cleared, and as a guy, you can be cleared, but I don't really have plans for you, so let me just hold off on you until, you know, Smarkamania.
You think so? I don't know. I think Finn Taker makes a lot of sense.
But it doesn't really, because like, aren't you trying to get him over as a face?
Sure, but the Mania crowd is gonna cheer Finn. They might do 50-50, but they're not gonna boo Finn by any means.
I don't think they're gonna boo him, but it's just like, I don't really think that, like, because they will boo his ass if he beats the Undertaker.
I don't think so.
I do.
I think if the streak was still intact, maybe. But if that smarky ass crowd sees it as like a passing of the guard sort of thing, I think they'll support it.
I guess, but I don't know.
You begrudgingly agree. You're like, that does make sense now that you say it.
It's a lot to get through. It's exciting because, like, for the first time in 2-3 years, you really don't know what they're gonna do. So that's the upside. It's a positive and a negative at the same time. So we'll be here every week to try to read the tea leaves.
So yeah, try to read the tea leaves. Try to sip some tea.
It's been fun, and
it's always fun.
You want to say anything before we?
You watched the UK tournament, right? You mentioned Pete Dunne, so I have to assume you watched.
Yes, I did. I watched the UK tournament.
Wasn't day 2 such a fun show?
It was a very fun show, and I liked everybody except for the Finn Balor knockoff.
Oh, Jordan Devlin, yeah.
I don't even remember his name. He's Finn Balor knockoff. I was like, where's his paint? Is he he's gonna be a demon too? He's gonna be Demon Junior.
Demon Junior.
He looks way too much like Finn. Like I was that threw me off. And
It was disturbing, wasn't it? Yeah.
yeah, he's not that good. But
No.
I liked everybody else. The fact that Pete Dunne made such waves, but he didn't win. I liked that.
Yep.
That's beautiful. But the only thing I didn't like was that everybody was like, "Oh, Triple H is gonna adopt him." No, he is too good to be to be a son of Triple H. No. Triple H's children are mediocre. No. I'm sorry, they all are. As soon as they become his son on TV, Randy Orton, KO, Seth Rollins, they go downhill. No. Keep him away. That's the problem. You don't have to have a top heel co-signed by Triple H. Let that dude stand on his own.
Yeah.
I saw better healing from him than I had, like in a 2-day tournament, than I've seen from Triple H in years. Triple H tries to be so cute and like, oh yeah, I'm the heel, but you really like me, don't you? Pete Dunne don't give a fuck who likes him. He's trying to win, damn it, and that's what I loved. Oh, and Regal was great.
Regal was great. Yep.
Great.
The whole tournament was bizarre to me because it was like in 2 days they showed like how it's not hard to get a crowd to where you want to be, even when they're like starting out from a position that's opposite. Like the first match Pete Dunne had, they were chanting Bruiserweight. They were all, and by the final, the fucking 98% of the crowd was going for Tyler Bate. So, and they made it so, they made Pete Dunne a star as a heel, but also got him booed. And they made Bate a big star as a face and got him universally cheered in the span of 4 fucking hours.
Right.
4 fucking hours they accomplished this. Mm. And it's just like, you have weekly shows that can't do this ever. Like, you did it in one episode of Raw, basically. You did this, And it's just like, how it doesn't make sense how they can be so good in that environment and do things so effectively and like know how to make a star, know how to get a crowd to boo a heel, and just have zero concept of doing it on Raw. I know. Yeah, I know.
No, because backstage at that tournament, there wasn't anybody sabotaging and running the
everybody was on the same page. Interesting.
Right. And that's not the case. What's going on in Raw? It's definitely everybody's not on the same page.
Everyone's got their own agendas.
Exactly. And I'm not talking about the rest.
No, yeah, for sure. I understand. Backstage folk. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Also, let's not forget headlining this year's Hall of Fame's Kurt Angle. Shout out to Kurt Angle. He was always I've always loved him. Even though people were like, they kind of blame him for kind of like where the in-ring has went. But I love like modern day WWE in-ring style. So if he's responsible, thank you, Kurt. Sorry. We will see you guys on the flip side, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Good night.